What's going on, young One Piece world? It's your boy Soge Kami, and I'm here to talk about One Piece chapter 1107. And the title of the chapter is called I've Been Looking for You. This chapter, the title, I feel like it incorporates a lot of things. The most thing is like reunited people. Like, I guess I've Been Looking for You is mostly in reference to Bonnie being reunited with Nika, as she's been looking for him this whole time. Like, her goal, especially in the flashback, talking about how she'd always wanted to meet Nika, her father's hero. Kuma wanted to meet Nika as well. But also, we have Usopp, who's reunited with the giants, Brogy and Dory, his masters, he calls them in this chapter. We have Jinbei, who's looking for Zoro, which is brought up in this chapter. We have even this Vegapunk Sanji connection, because, Vegapunk is going to be witness to Sanji's Germa greatness coming out soon, so like that will be another reunited. The Blackbeard pirates are looking for their goal, their mission, which is not told to us as of yet, but I have a theory on that that'll come up later in this review. And they got what they're looking for. And then even Caribou, who was looking for Blackbeard and to become one of his subordinates all this time, and he found his way there. So it's like all about these people getting what they've been looking for a long time, and I think that's really incorporated into this chapter throughout the entire thing. So I'm just going to be going by this chapter piece by piece, just talking about all the parts. Going to be listing my thoughts. I'm probably going to rant on a little bit, the way I do these videos. I just talk and talk and talk about some of the things that come into my mind, but I'm going to be ranting just a little bit, just based on some of the things I've seen, and just kind of putting together a perspective, because a lot of people, I feel like, are lacking perspective in the way that One Piece writes their chapters and goes about things. So I'm just going to be trying to put that there. Let me know what you guys think. All right. So let's start off with the cover page. The cover page starts off with Law. He's posted up with a snow leopard, and Beppo is like a little jealous. That makes me think leopard, the only leopard that we really see in One Piece is Lucci. And they're in like a snowy land, and Law's like sleeping on him. They're taking a nap together. There's some alcohol in the middle. We know in One Piece alcohol is the sign of creating bonds. So I wonder if Law is coming to Egghead and he's going to have some type of Lucci interaction. Is that like what they're hinting there? And maybe Lucci could join Law's crew. Like, that is a crazy theory. I would have never ever thought that would have happened, but that was the first thought that came to my mind when I saw that cover chapter. That is one of the most, even it's coming out of my mouth right now, sounds super cope, but what if that happened? That would be one of the weirdest things ever, right? I would never put my stocks into that bet, but if that does happen, wow, Oda has really been like hinting that thing would happen. There'd have to be a pretty crazy reason to make those things come together, like Lucci and Law making a connection. That's just crazy. So the chapter starts off with where we ended last time, where the giants were trying to land and making their presence known on Egghead, and then we get we get to see Dory, Brogy, Oimu, Kashi, the four giants that we know. Save for Hydruden, and they're come together. Like, Oimo and Kashi went back, found Brogy and Dory, got them off that island, and they made their way back, and that made me really start thinking about just the tale. Like, they talk about their epithets, the red ogre and the blue ogre, and we all know that is the story in Japan of the red oni and the blue oni. Basically, is like the red oni wanted to make friends with humans, but the blue oni didn't really care. He was happy with just his friend, that he had, the red oni. And so they came up with a plan where the blue oni, because like humans were scared of onis, right? So they came up with a plan where the blue oni attacked the humans and the red oni defended them. So the humans liked the red oni. But the blue oni then ends up leaving a note for red oni, be like, hey, so because our plan worked, the humans don't like me. So in order for you to keep your friends with the humans, I will be leaving. And then the red oni says, hey, like, you were actually my best friend. I like you better than the humans, and I miss my homie, So it makes me think about what the fight with Dory and Brogy was from the very beginning. Like, could it have been a situation where one of them wanted to do something involving the humans, the other one didn't, and then they started fighting to see whoever his plan was would end up making them like be the victor, right? and they'd go with their plan, and they fought and fought and fought until Luffy came to kind of basically said, neither you're right, both of you follow my plan, basically, right? As the sun god, their god. So that could be what this thing is kind of setting up for with their stories, with their epithets. It's kind of like an idea. I feel like they went out of their way to remind us that that is their epithets. So I wanted to kind of incorporate that into the video as just kind of a thought. But after we see them all make landfall, we see Usopp talking about, oh, my masters are here. They came because they heard about the war. They wanted to help us out. We have to, it's like similar to the situation with Pedro, right? They came here to help us. We need to do as best as we can to make their help not be in vain. But that makes me wonder, like, are these people going to be casualties of their escape? Is this Buster Call going to end up being too much? Who knows? I hope that we do see Brogy and Dory in the future in Egghead. I hope that it might be like a delayed response. Could be like a Jinbei situation, Jinbei leaving Whole Cake Island. Like, they might show up in the middle of the arc in Elbaf. Or if, they can leave together, I would much prefer that. So I am curious as to what's going to happen. It would be crazy if they wiped out the entire Buster Call, right? So they didn't end up having to leave in a hurry. But I don't think that will happen, right? That doesn't make sense narratively. I feel like they're going to have to stay behind, hold the line while the Straw Hats make their escape, basically. Next we see panels with Brook. Brook is, they're still sliding on the clouds that have turned to ice, and they're about to fall off. So we're still setting up to see what's about to happen there. Then we see some stuff with, this the Chin guy, the Vice Admiral. He's basically called Red King. They end up saying that he's like moving to fight back against the Pacifista, and that's like a waste of their money because these are supposed to be their weapons, right? So now they're taking out their own manpower. I am curious as to what is going to be happening with these vice admirals. They've introduced so many of them, and I was under the impression at first that they were going to be, having some sort of a fighting role, but I guess we will see. There's still more to come with that. Next we see Jinbei, right? He's on his way to go to Zoro, and I'm not really sure what this is setting up, if it's going to be like a Jinbei and Zoro team up fight, or if it's going to be a kind of like a Jinbei just watching Zoro and kind of being amazed with him. But I feel like in the end this has to lead to something, right? Where, like, imagine if Jinbei just goes over there, or maybe Zoro's gonna get pushed harder than we thought and Zoro's gonna be down and Jinbei's gonna have to carry him out to save him, right? There are different options. I'd be very curious. Maybe Lucci is just stronger than we thought. I initially hadn't thought this fight would be that high difficulty for Zoro, but it's possible it is, and I'm not going to downplay that. A lot of people think that Zoro is closer to Luffy, but I think that Zoro's probably closer to Sanji, right? They're not, like, I feel like Luffy is entirely on a whole different tier than Zoro. A lot of characters are way stronger than him, so I wouldn't put Zoro in a situation where, like, this is somebody that Luffy was beating pretty easily, to be honest, but that doesn't mean that Zoro and Lucci aren't closer in strength. I do still think Zoro's stronger than him, but maybe this fight will be more difficult for Zoro than we think. And just getting into this fight, I feel like it's pretty obvious that we haven't really seen much of this fight. We saw the fight start in like 1092, and then we saw a little bit more of it in 1093, and then we got like 14 chapters of like none of this fight. And everyone has this expectation of that Zoro is super weak, and that that Lucci is getting stalled by base Lucci, which just isn't true. In reality, Zoro started this fight in King of Hell. We saw the aura on his swords, but now that we're catching up to it, Zoro's using 2 sword styles, not even using 3 sword style, and he's fighting Lucci, who's still in his awakened zone form. So realistically, it seems like Oda wanted to make an excuse for Zoro to look cool again, right? Zoro doesn't have any of this stuff on him. He's gonna put in the next chapter and 2 chapters from now, Zoro's gonna keep fighting. He's gonna put his bandana on, and then he's gonna like defeat Lucci, and then everyone's gonna go, damn, that took so long for Zoro. But in reality, we really haven't seen much of this fight. I don't even think we've gotten a whole dedicated page to this fight. It's been like 13 panels between 14 chapters of this that we've actually seen them fight, and we've never even seen them land any hits on each other. It's really just been a stall, but not Zoro stalling Lucci. It's more like the author Oda is stalling the fight because he doesn't want to tell this fight right now, and in reality he's making Zoro just kind of play, like, not even Zoro play with him, they're just playing around with each other for time. I've seen arguments saying that, like, maybe Zoro is trying to just hold off Lucci, because if he, let's say, puts him down and gets lost, right, Lucci will just go and attack his friends, so Zoro's just kind of stalling him until the prep is completed, and then he's going to push Lucci away and then run. Zoro, the truth of the matter is, Zoro wouldn't, like, Oda wouldn't write Zoro to cut Lucci's head off, and Oda doesn't want Lucci to look super weak right now. Oda obviously has some type of plan for Lucci moving forward, right? It seems like Oda likes Lucci a lot. So I just can't believe the idea that this is a fight that we can scale based on what we've seen in it yet. We have to see them get some real blows on each other, use some actual techniques, not just defend each other and talk shit, because that's all that's been happening. They just are attacking, they've just been talking shit this entire time. No one's actually hitting each other, no one's damaging each other, everyone is weakened from their fights beforehand. So we really need to see what's going on, maybe even get some clarity as to what happened in that period of the day that we didn't see. What are the shapes these people in? Because, like, Zoro's looks damaged, but he seemed to have been damaged from before the fight even began, right? And Lucci was damaged before the fight began. He already went through these fights with Luffy. So both of these characters, we're just not in a position to really know what's going on. But the only thing that is true is this fight has been going on from the moment that, you know, Luffy started fighting Kizaru, and also that Zoro the only things that we know for sure is that this fight has been going on since Zoro started fighting Luffy started fighting Kizaru, and that Zoro was using King of Hell style and now he's not. So my only guess is that Oda didn't want to wreck this fight yet, and he decided that at a later point he's gonna have Zoro take out 3 swords again, do a cool little pose, and then start using some named attacks when he's ready to really show us the fight in full. Next we see cuts back to Luffy. Luffy's talking to Bonnie. This is one of the best moments of this arc to me, just because of how casual it sounds. I love the way that Bonnie's like, you know, Bonnie's like, I've been looking for you. Luffy's like, but I've been here. It really reminds me a lot of, like, just the stories of, like, God, and like how people talk to God, like, and he's just casual. God's very casual with, like, people talk to Jesus, right? And Jesus very casual with the way that he talks back to them, and he's very motivating when he's not saying much, right? All of this stuff is kind of like insightful. It's like he's saying, I'm always with you. I've been by your side this entire time. You just haven't noticed me. And I thought that was very heartfelt. I thought that, like, Luffy, Bonnie saying, go punch that guy, right? Luffy's like teasing Bonnie, but Bonnie's not even taking any of it to heart. He's like, yo, like, you know, you're my hero type thing, and go punch that guy. And Luffy takes one of those eye attacks, but he doesn't even, like, blink at it. He punches the stuffing out of Saturn. Saturn gets sent flying through a rock, and then it's just like Kizaru and Luffy and Sanji and Luffy versus Kizaru, and that was an interesting pair up I didn't expect to see just now. Kizaru tries to take a shot at Bonnie, and Sanji, with the biggest W I've seen from him in Egghead, he's actually been looking super fly. I've been really happy with what Sanji's doing. Sanji kicks one of the light beams, and it's not even like the spread light beam, it's like a focus light beam. He kicks it and dusts it. You know, we saw him in the last chapter, he kicked one of the Kizaru spreads, but this one just seemed like really, really, really amazing. And you know, Kizaru's flabbergasted, Frankie's flabbergasted. How could this happen? I definitely think that you know, Oda is using Egghead to really show Sanji has gas. Sanji's eyebrows have switched, and I've had this theory for a while about you know, Kizaru versus Sanji. I've always thought that this was the matchup that was going to be, just because you know, Kizaru wants to be that warrior, right, who is unfeeling. He's that unfeeling, like I've had this feeling since Sanji said it in 1036, right? Or like 1035, where he's like, Luffy, what do you want from me? I want you, do you want me to be a warrior who can do whatever you want without like feeling anything? Or do you want me to be me? And well, like I was saying about Kizaru, Kizaru is now even showing me that like he is that person who doesn't really think. He does what his orders are, and he's just like unfeeling, even though he wants to be able to feel. He has those feelings, and he's pushing those feelings down. Kizaru and Sanji are opposites of one another, right? Sanji is embracing the fact that he has those feelings and fighting with those feelings in mind, and those things are making him, giving him a will to protect, whereas Kizaru is pushing down those feelings, and it's probably making him weaker, and to be honest. And I'm not trying to say that Kizaru is not fighting at his full strength, but I'm saying that Kizaru is not at an advantage because he's doing stuff he doesn't want to do. It's like that kid who's like doesn't want to play basketball and you invite him out, and then you pass him the ball and he's just lobbing it. He doesn't even really care. Like, Kizaru is not fighting in a way that is beneficial to him. He's just really just trying to get it over with, he's just on the team, you know. He's not really even giving it his hardest, and I think that that's no good for him. He really should be trying his hardest because this is a serious moment. And I just think overall those two characters are a foil, and it's nice to see that, you know, I was kind of right about that. Sanji versus Kizaru is definitely the Admiral matchup I have in mind. You know, I've always said the Jinbei versus Green Bull, Zoro versus Fujitora, Sanji versus Kizaru, and I like to see that in front of me now. And you know, Saturn's getting back up, and I do think Luffy's gonna go off to Saturn, but it is cool to see like these two characters, Luffy and Sanji, team up against Kizaru, if it's not for a little bit, and maybe we might get some, you know, some dialogue between them and maybe some more information. Now, the characters Atlas, Kuma, Frankie, and Bonnie, they're all leaving. They're gonna go to the northeast part to try and meet up with the team. They're all gonna try and do their escape thing pretty soon, and then we're gonna get like we're gonna get Vegapunk, who's still down there. Now Chopper is very far away, so Vegapunk is saying that if he moved while he's injured, he's gonna die. So I wonder if they're gonna try and notify Chopper about Vegapunk's injuries, and we're gonna try to get something there. But I found it weird that, you know, Atlas just left him, and there wasn't like a panel that said like, how are we gonna go save Vegapunk? There should have been like more protection involved. Like, they should be doing more to protect Vegapunk. I'm happy that we get to see, in the next part, we get to see the Blackbeard Pirates. They have finally arrived. I'm so happy to see them. It's Katarina Devon and Vagar Van Auger. Oh my god, I don't know, I call him Vagar. Van Auger, and they are talking to Saturn. In what they're saying, basically, Van Auger's Saturn asks them, like, Katarina Devon, you're a level 6 prisoner. What are you doing here? You know, Katarina Devon is surprised to see that one of the Gorosei is actually here. So it makes me think that like they have some type of knowledge of each other from beforehand. You know, he knows who she is specifically, and either Katarina Devon is genuinely surprised to know that he's here, or she was told that he was going to be here and is surprised that he was actually here. So it makes me think that they had some type of inside information about the Gorosei's arrival. Makes me think that maybe York, because I've had this other theory that, you know, the Blackbeard Pirates showed up to capture York because York had information that Blackbeard would want to know, and York was trying to defect for a long time. So I've had that thought that it could be one of them. It could be York who was feeding them this information, and also, you know, Katarina Devon talks about a mission that she had, right? And so my theory on what that mission was how do we need a way to control the Seraphim. So York could have been one of the ways that they were going to control the Seraphim. Like, York could have had a command over them, and York had a command over several of the Seraphim from beforehand, right? York had command over Kuma, Mihawk, Jinbei, and Boa. So that could have been what their plan was when they came there, because I feel like Blackbeard, when he went to Amazon Lily, he was interested in the Seraphim technology. And so they came here for that reason. York filled them in that Saturn was here on the island, and they came to get that. But once that Katarina Devon copied Saturn, we saw that with the hand. She had the same thing that Mr. 2 seems to do, where she places the hand on them and then she gets to copy them. It is possible now that she can turn into Saturn and then be able to control the Seraphim that way. So that's kind of what my thinking on what that plan could be. And they have talks about certain things. Like, now we know that Blackbeard has a certain lineage that he comes from. I don't know if that's referring to the D family, or if that's more specifically referring to rocks, or if that's maybe referring to something like, maybe it could be the Buccaneer race, but it could be anything of those three things. Or maybe even a separate race entirely. But I feel like it's more leaning towards the D family, Rocks, D, Zebek type thing. Either way, they talk about what Blackbeard's goals could be, and it just reaffirms that Blackbeard wants to be king of the world, which is the same goal that Roxy Zebek has. So they move on from that. Basically, Saturn goes to attack them. Van Augur uses power to teleport. Realistically, in Egghead, in terms of villains, Van Augur has been just getting gas for a while, you know, with what happened in Whole Cake Island with him and Kuzan going there and fighting Cracker. That was in this week's episode of One Piece. They gave him a lot of gas there. With just even with the fight versus Law, Van Augur was there putting in work. Oda's really, you know, maxing out on this teleportation that Van Augur can do, and he's really showing his utility and his usefulness. And then now just Van Augur's just really showing us a lot of gas, and I feel like that's kind of hyping up Van Augur a lot in my eyes and makes me so excited. I would love for there to be even a short moment with Van Augur and Usopp, maybe in this arc in some way. Like, maybe Usopp notices them in the forest and he aims at them, and Van Augur looks up at him, like notices them, observation hockey. And I feel like if we get something like that, like, there's definitely going to be a moment where the Blackbeard crew is going up against the Red Hair crew, and then we get, like, maybe Van Augur kills Yasopp shortly after, even before he meets Usopp, right? And then Usopp is going to go avenge his father. That could be a wicked storyline I think would be super interesting for Usopp and his character. But either way, the Blackbeard pirates teleport out of that situation, and they end up in another part of the forest, and Captain Devon asks him, like, why couldn't you teleport us further? He says, I haven't mastered my ability yet. So I wonder what how far away they did teleport them, and, like, kind of what is, like, I guess he just has to teleport multiple times, like Nightcrawler or something like that. I know Nightcrawler's powers probably got enhanced from what I remember, but I remember him just teleporting just a certain set and keep teleporting further and further. So that could be a thing. I wonder if their plan is to leave immediately. I feel like the Seraphim haven't been incorporated a lot in like this part of the arc. We saw them in the bubble, and that was really it. So I feel like if my thoughts were correct, they'd probably go and look for York and maybe go look at Seraphim and then teleport them all off the island. Another interesting thing that I noticed is that Van Augur didn't need to actually be touching. I thought Van Augur would have to be touching somebody to teleport, but apparently Van Augur can just look at you, like you're just close to him in his premises, and he can just teleport you. So that's interesting. But the chapter ends with Caribou noticing them in the forest, and Caribou ends up saying, like, hey, I've been looking for you. And it's Catherine Devon and Van Augur, and he's like, yo, you guys are the subordinates of Blackbeard. I've always wanted to be an underling of Blackbeard, like, please let me join your crew. And this moment, I don't know why, like, everyone is comparing this moment to Bartolomeo and Luffy, and I definitely agree. That's exactly what that is. Like, Caribou is like the Bartolomeo of this moment, and it really reminded me of this moment in Dressrosa where Bartolomeo meets Usopp, and he meets Robin, and he's like, you're Soja King, you know, Robin, and he's just like, it's just like that. I don't know why, it just had that similar energy to me, where it's just like these two people, and he notices them immediately, and he just starts fanning out, and that really just goes to show that the person who the person who Caribou was looking for to tell all the secrets to was going to be Blackbeard. So the thought that Blackbeard will now know the ancient weapon Pluton is in Wano and about Shirahoshi really makes me think about Shanks going to Wano, knowing that the ancient weapon is there, thinking that Blackbeard is going to go there, that now that's going to be Blackbeard's next point of attack. And with Blackbeard's like powerful quake fruit, he'll be the one to unleash Pluton on this world, and that'll be crazy. Crazy. That could be how we end up getting Yamato back into the story. If the Straw Hats or Yamato goes out to sea, or the Straw Hats end up going to back to Wano because of that information as to what happened. They went to go defend it. They put up their flag, whatever. This will be one of the first times that we've seen the Straw Hats go back to somewhere where they just left, but it wouldn't really be where they just left, because we do know that there is like a ancient city underneath Wano, so it would be like kind of exploring old Wano, which would be super interesting as well. So I'm just interested in how that will go exactly. I do think that that is probably the thought process that Oda wants us to have at this moment about like Blackbeard and the ancient weapons, after putting all that stuff together, because that has been the setup for Caribou's character for years and years. So all of that is to say, I don't know what will happen about Shirahoshi. I think Shirahoshi and Blackbeard is like less likely. I feel like Shirahoshi, Blackbeard going all the way to Fishman Island, especially with his fruit, wouldn't be such a good idea, just because they could just pop the bubble that is around them, and then the whole Blackbeard crew is basically getting washed underwater. Like they're not going to be able to fight them, so it's not really a smart idea. But it would be interesting to see how that goes still. Either way, more to see. I feel like this chapter was just kind of like packed in. In the next chapter, I expect to see more from this fight. I feel like it'll be like a more fight-based chapter. We might get some stuff with the Giants fighting back, maybe the Vice Admirals fighting the Giants, and then we'll get more of this Lucci Zoro fight, because that's kind of where they're at now. And then it'll probably be a postponement on what's going to be going on with Luffy. Maybe Luffy will go somewhere else. Maybe we'll get some more of this giant robot. I'm not sure exactly what to think, but overall, this chapter has been like super great. Next chapter will be super great. I really want to see what Zoro does, how hard this fight goes for Zoro, because Zoro has been in this fight for like I said, we haven't seen much from this fight, so I just want to see this fight get to a next level and see where Oda takes this, what exactly is his plan for this, because it's about time that we start like focusing on this fight, because he started it such a long time ago. But that's just how Oda writes the story. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. I'll be back at it next week, and One Piece forever, man. Let's see where we go next from here. So, Gekami